Hey there, everybody. Mark Kemp with CampgroundViews.com and the Campground Views Podcast. The two guests you see, you probably recognize them. It's Marc and Julie from RV Love, and we actually just woke them up. They've been asleep for the last 48 hours after their incredible weekend event called the Hit the Road Summit. Many of you, I know, attended it. We shared it with you via the email stream, so I know a lot of you were there. Marc and Julie, how you doing?
Doing good. Starting to recover.
Like we've had some sleep.
Well, congratulations. You pulled this thing off.
We did. Yeah.
Not once, but twice. We actually did one last summer as well. That was our warm up. This one, we took things up an even higher level.
Took it up a level, doubled the whole thing, 2 days and doubled the speakers, but it was awesome. And we were thrilled that you were able to join us and you were the first speaker, actually.
Yeah. And I heard I broke the software.
You did. Everyone was so excited to hear about the year of camping 2021 with Marc Kemp, and everyone was jumping on at the same time, like over 3,000 people. And it did. It brought the system down for temporarily. So that was fun. It's a bit like, what was that?
Yeah, but we just had to think on our feet, and which was a big lesson. That's something we've learned in all these years of RVing is that you need to have some redundancy in your plans, whether it's internet connectivity or your campground bookings or your travel plans. It's important to have some redundancy. And so fortunately, we did have some backup plans that we could shift to make sure that everybody was able to enjoy all of the wonderful content we had to share with them.
It was definitely
I was freaking out for you guys because I went to log in and it wouldn't log in, and I immediately knew what was going on. It was basically there's so many people trying to log in at the same time, it crashed. And this wasn't, you were paying a professional company for the software, so I was like,
it shouldn't have happened.
No, it shouldn't have happened.
No. We had a license for way more people than were signing on, and we still are trying to get to the bottom of it. There's a couple of weird little things, like people with Android 10, people that had an AT&T hotspot were the most affected. It was very weird. We're still trying to get to the detail, but the main thing was, as Marc said, that we're able to quickly pivot people to being able to view it through our RV Success School platform, which is where people that had the lifetime access pass would view it anyway. It was the irony is trying to bring it to more people in the free platform is what caused it to go down.
Well, and what's interesting about it too, you're having a backup plan. When I hit the site and it was down, I was worried for you. Like, I was honestly freaking out for you guys. So I was like, oh my God, Julie and Marc got to be stressing out right now. And I wanted to message you. I wanted to call you, but I'm like, no, they're probably all hands on deck trying to figure out how to get this thing fixed right now. And you pulled it off. I was messaging my team. I was like, oh no, I feel so bad for them. I hope they pull this off. And then you pulled it off and had a very successful event. And in that event, give everybody a rundown real fast on what was covered in it and how many speakers were there. And also, how many people registered? You drew an amazing audience.
Yeah, it was huge. We had over 6,500 people register. And that's phenomenal. And to think that like half of those were trying to log in at the same time for a free event. I think like to have 50% of free attendees signing up to get on at one time is a pretty good number, I think. Because how often do we all sign up for free stuff and then you get busy and sidetracked, and because you're not invested financially, you just don't always show up. I know I do that. So we were thrilled with the number of people that showed up until y'all broke the internet.
But we did have a lot of exciting stuff to share with them. We had you, of course, which was, your session was so good. That's why we wanted to launch with it.
Yeah.
And then we had 30 speakers. We were talking about, we had so many different presentations. I think I counted the videos. It was close to 60 different videos that we had over the course of the weekend. It was about 18 or 20 hours of footage that we were sharing with people. And the topics were ranging. We had lifestyle related content on how to, make this go the long haul. And we had a lot of other content that was more systems related, like electrical systems and propane systems and internet connectivity. And we were bringing in top speakers for this event. And that's what's really special about what we do, is that this is not stuff you can get on YouTube or any of these other channels, where these people that we're reaching out to are professionals and people that are the go-to people that don't have YouTube channels. And so we really provided some very high level education to people. And It was fantastic. And the
Yeah.
feedback we've had has been amazing. We've had
And we
so
haven't
many
even sent the
people.
survey out yet. We're getting
Yeah.
ready to send a survey out to get feedback on the technical side, which we know has some room for improvement, but also separating that out from the actual content and the quality of the speakers and the sessions, because we haven't even sent that out yet. And we've been getting emails pouring in saying, this was fantastic. It was so much better than I expected. And, you know, despite the hiccups, I'm so glad I did it. And so that's been really rewarding, knowing how much it's helping people. There's a lot of people out there that are new to this, and you know, there might be solo RVers, even some people that have been doing it a long time. You can always learn new things about your systems and your maintenance and staying safe. And that's, you know, that's our, I think, a real core of what we like to do is really helping people stay safe out there. And that's always a theme in what we do.
And although the event happened this last weekend, folks can still go and watch the recordings of that session.
Yeah.
How do they go about doing that? Where do they go?
You can just go to rvsuccessschool.com and you'll see there the options there. You can buy the single summit for 2021 with 18 hours of content, or you can buy the 2 summit bundle, which is 2020 as well. And that actually has a lot of uniquely different content. So, I mean, that's over 30 hours of material just in those 2. And then there's also the main RV Success School VIP access to everything that we have, including our monthly live calls with Q&A with experts, which you've joined us on a few times as well. And so it's just a great way for people to be able to engage and have their questions answered in a live environment too.
Yeah, but we wanted to make it a lifetime access to those. And like Julie said, there was 2 summits, but they didn't overlap much at all. So because our first summit that we did back in the summer of 2020, it was really focused on that huge influx of all these brand new campers that really had no idea what they were getting into. And so we wanted to get some more entry-level information to them, but we got a lot of feedback that even people long-term RVing were still getting great information out of that. But then this second summit, we just wanted to expand on that and just help people get in more ready for the longer haul and for having longer term success, not necessarily as full-time or even extended RVing, just that they need to be set up for success longer term over the years, even as part-time RVers.
Because I can imagine it's pretty overwhelming. It's new people coming in, and you know, Mark, you've been RVing with your family for over a decade, how much there is to learn, and it can be pretty steep. And so just being able to try and alleviate that for people is just really, like, the whole messaging was, you know, RV better, longer, and for less in 21. How can you save money? How can you make the lifestyle more sustainable? That was the focus.
Yeah, and when you look at camping and RVing, one of the big things that, you know, Mark, Julie, us at Campground Views, we're all in the industry, and so we're really into it. Like, we really are deep in this. But the average RVer, they're buying an RV to go on a trip. They're going somewhere. So really, in their perspective, the average RVer, they just want to really worry about, it gets me there and I can stay in it, right? And so we end up spending a lot of time thinking about RVing. That's probably where those folks who were longtime RVers learn stuff, because reality is everything's kind of worked up until now and they haven't really worried about it. Now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I actually haven't even considered to think about this. And now you're bringing it to their attention to think about it, because it is important. And as we see this industry grow, events like yours are changing the way things happen, which leads me to a secondary question. So some of you may not know, but Mark and Julie and myself and my wife, we have a long history in a good way. We actually didn't meet as RV Love and Campground Views. We met as Mark and Julie and Mark and Katerina in Maine. We met one another and just got to talking and became friends. And then we've had these random encounters in all these different unique places where we run into each other because we've been full-time RVers.
In national parks, usually we'll just pass each other literally on the road, going to the Sun Road in Glacier National Park in Montana, and in the White Sands National Monument, New Mexico, different parts of the country, completely unplanned. And so our paths have always crossed. And it was during COVID where they really kind of came together, because, you know, Mark and Julie were staying in Arizona at that time, and middle of nowhere. And we were in Arizona in our rig, and we had to go to California, and just interacting, not so much as professionals working in the industry and as friends, but as people helping one another. Cause this was, you know, if you remember when COVID hit, it was, what do you do? Right. So, you know, talking through what the plans were, how we're going to get ourselves through that. And then afterwards, and as we've come out of COVID,
what I want to share and where I want to go next with this is there's a lot of folks out there that view the RV now the way we always have, which is an excellent way to get away, right? It's an great vacation. You can go have fun. And it's your own house and so forth. Some people are now looking at that and saying, how can I work from the road and potentially create a career in it? And I think you two are very unique in this because you've created a brand, you've created products, you've created services all around the RV lifestyle, but doing this all completely virtually. Can you share some insight for somebody who's thinking about doing that themselves, not necessarily copying RV Low, but maybe thinking about starting something virtually on the road? What tips would you share with them?
Well, first, let me back up just a touch, because when we hit the road, we didn't hit the road with the idea of making revenue from RV Love. You know, we first hit the road. I had a job that I was able to do remotely. I was a operations manager for a company out of Texas, even though we were in Colorado. And so that was what sustained us. And then RV Love was basically just for fun and a hobby. And then we started sharing with people to help them. And then it started growing and growing. And then we eventually transitioned to where that has become the full-time income for both Julie and I.
Yeah, Mike was able to quit his job back in May of 2017. And, you know, I think like anyone, it's a big risk you take when you're leaving a job with benefits and vacation time and things like Mark was but we reached a point where it's like, you can't keep doing both. And, you know, what's really important to us, and we love teaching people about RVing. We love sharing that.
And actually, let me jump in there. So Mark, you wrote a blog post on that topic, and it's one of your most popular blog posts at RV Love. And I think it's still linked pretty high up. It's called The
Price We Pay to Work. Is that the one?
Yes, The Price We Pay to Work.
Yeah.
I recommend, if you have the chance, go to rvlove.com and look at that article, The Price We Pay to Work, because it's deeper than just the story of Mark. It goes, when you read it, everybody can step into your shoes, Mark, and feel that stress of what you were under and trying to balance a work-life balance in the middle of what you're going through. So it's one of those great articles. Marc and Julie always produce this amazing content, and I always share with Julie whenever I get her emails. Just they're so well written. You guys are so good at bringing people in and engaging them on a human level. So that's one of those articles. I'm sorry, I want to jump in there and make sure people get that. So go to rvlove.com.
That's one of our favorite articles too, actually.
That's kind of you to say that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because I think we have a lot of people resonate with that, and that really help them reset some of their own clocks. And
it's good for us to go back and reread that this week too, I think, because you know, that was right at the pivot point when Mark left his job, and it was taking such a toll on his health and well-being and happiness and our relationship and our lifestyle and our travels. That's one of the reasons he decided to quit. And it was just all a perfect storm happening when RV Love was, well, there's a lot of potential for this to get even bigger if we have more time to dedicate to it. But, you know, we don't want to sugarcoat it. It's not easy being a self-employed person. It's not easy working with your spouse in business. We're very compatible as a couple and living. People say, how do you live together in such a small space in the RV? And ours was about 350 square feet. I'm like, that's never been the issue. The challenge has been working together, because we're actually a really great team, because we're very opposite in personalities, in case you never noticed. But we each have strengths in the areas where the other does not. So, you know, we can be a good team working on big projects together like that. But, you know, it does come with its challenges. And I think, you know, I don't want to be negative, but I think it's important to be realistic that it isn't always a picnic. And because our life is our work, it is harder to draw the lines in between that balance. Like, when are you not working, when your work and your life is all one?
But there's definitely a lot of ways to make money on the road virtually now. And I think that's been one of the biggest changes we saw out of 2020 was the societal shift completely, not just in the RV space, but it's a complete societal shift to working from home and working remotely. And then people expand on that idea, just like we did back in 2014, realizing, well, if I can work from home, I can work from anywhere. Home can be anywhere. And so with today's internet connectivity, pretty much any job that you could do from home, you could do on the road, which opens up enormous opportunity. And then there's also jobs you can do in person, you know, work camping and, you know, physical jobs. If you move with the seasons, there are certain roles, especially in hospitality, which when that comes back,
construction is everywhere,
nursing, but then, you know, you can create your own business. I'd like to set the expectation when people think, oh, YouTubers are like Mr. Beast, they make millions of dollars. And no, I mean, you'd only make pennies the first few years, if anything. And then, it takes time to ramp that up. But we have multiple streams of income. We have online courses. We're best-selling authors now. We've got a lot of different streams that you can, just a little bit here and a little bit there starts to add up to enough to help you pay the bills.
Well, that best-selling authors, for example, and I don't know if you've ever shared this, and we'll cut this if you don't want to share this, but when you guys wrote that first book, you literally locked yourself in for a month and created a book. So to make it sound like, oh, we're best-selling authors. No, you guys literally devoted an entire month, both of you, working your tails off to create that first book. We had about
6 weeks all up, which is an insanely short amount of time to write a book, to write a quality book with because this is a real publisher. This is not a self-published ebook thing. This is, if you don't mind, if it's okay if I hold this up.
Yeah, heck yeah, so hold it up.
This is it, living the RV life. And it's got photos and things as well. So it's a lot of, there's so much to learn about the RV life, and to try and put it into a very condensed, organized form that's thorough enough to get people on a good track, but yet not be overwhelming was quite the balance. But, that's same with our second book. That one's coming out. We're allowed to start talking about that in about 2 weeks' time. But that's coming out on July 13. And the same thing, we had about the same amount of time to pull that one together. So I don't know why we keep taking on these crazy projects with short timelines. Somebody's got to have a talk to us, I think.
What I'll say is, after this Hit the Road Summit, you guys look happy. Like was it good? Did you enjoy?
We are happy. We are happy. And I think, one, because it's a big relief to have pulled off a big event like that, but also it's very satisfying and rewarding to know that what we delivered will help people immensely, and it could even change lives for people. And there's so much value in that, that helps rejuvenate our spirits. But we have gotten a little bit of rest these last couple of days.
We actually went to the camper, and because you might see here, we're in our house. We've got a home base now. This is the office. And then we left the laptops at home, and we drove off to the camper, not too far away, and just chilled out and had night and had a dinner. There was another fella there with a camper. We had a beer with him and had a fun conversation. Mm-hmm. It was just being RVers, not being RV love, not being just Marc and Julie hanging out at a camper, meeting the local and enjoying the views. And just because sometimes it's easy I think a lot of people think we're all out there having s'mores every night and campfires. And you know what it's like. You know how hard you work in your business, Marc. I know you're very dedicated to, you people who use the campgroundviews.com platform, to all of the campground owners. You're very, very dedicated and engaged. And to sort of just switch off and then actually just be a regular RVer and enjoy that lifestyle like when you first set out, sometimes it takes some discipline to actually make yourself go and do that.
Well, and that's a good point. I think you guys had the same issue, and we had the same issue, is turning it off. And because we built our businesses around what we were doing, it makes it difficult. Like I'm sitting in a campground sometimes, I'm like, man, I want to grab the camera and take some photos and some video, right? I just want to go do it. And it's like, no, I need to chill out and just hang out. And so there is part of that. And so, a lot of folks out there are now discovering what we've known for a long time, which is RVing is a great way to travel and work from the road and live and discover this country. Yeah. And so as all these people head out on the road this year, 2021, as you know, I keep calling it the year of camping. It's clearly panning out to be that way. There's already lots of people in campgrounds right now, which is early in the season. So as these folks start to see this lifestyle, what do you hope the industry looks like a year from now, and then maybe 2 years from now, with these new people that are coming in?
That's a good question. You said when the industry, like from the industry perspective. Well, I think campgrounds have done a really good job of stepping up to the challenge, because I know it was a very stressful time when you did your Back to Camping Summit last I think it was April, May, you did that. And it was a very scary time. Like, we don't know how our business is going to cope. And then who knew that it was going to explode the way that it did? So I think campgrounds have done a fantastic job of, increasing technology and having check-in where you don't have to go in, and different options like that. People are getting more used to booking online. They're putting in new systems. A lot more campgrounds are opening up. I think, with what you do and what we love about what you do at campgroundviews.com is showing people too how you can still always find campsites. People are saying, oh, they're all booked out. It's not true. You might have to go looking a little bit different. You might not get your first
Yeah,
choice the first day.
which is back to the redundancy point I made early on in our call today, is that you need to have a backup plan. Don't be rigid when you're RVing. It's got to be more fluid and let things flow. And that way you choose your one campground you would have optimally liked to go on to. Well, it's booked. Okay, well, there's probably 20 others within 50 miles from there, if not more, if not hundreds. And if you do your research, you can find somewhere to stay. And I think, to Julie's point, I think all of these campgrounds that are getting more technology to allow people to see what's available, and then what you do with
your 360 technology, which we love.
That allows people to really get a feel for where they're going and what they're doing. And I think all these technology advances are really going to make a difference for the end consumer. And with hopefully manufacturers are going to be, and with other education, help manage expectations for new consumers that their RV is not going to be like buying their Prius and their Toyota,
it's different. It's totally, and to that, because you guys work with a lot of like the major industry players, and we do too. And the one thing that I've seen that's been really promising is that when you think about big corporations, they're usually a little bit slow to adapt to consumer needs and what people want and how they're camping. There's been a big shift. I don't know if you've noticed it, but in the last year, this has been this massive shift within the RV industry where all of a sudden these big companies are recognizing, we need to be a lot more nimble, and they're getting these consumer-facing brands out there, and they're really listening to the campers. I mean, it's been amazing to see this transition over the last 6 months. Are you seeing that same thing?
I am, and I'm very excited about that. That these big companies, and like Lippert's a great example. They have this huge Lippert Scouts program and ambassadors, and they're trying to have feet on the ground and connecting with the consumer so they can react quickly, decide what really needs to change, what can they do to make the RV industry better. There's a number of companies that are that way, and that's very encouraging because the consumers are having their voice heard, and I think that's going to be very instrumental in improving this industry and helping everybody enjoy it to its fullest.
And we saw that too, like last year. I mean, we pulled together the first summit very, very quickly. And the focus was on delivering a great program of content. And so we didn't have a lot of time to get sponsors, but we did have, and I'm going to give a shout out here to Thousand Trails, because we joined like before we even hit the road. And it's been what's enabled us to live and travel and afford to do that all of these years. And they came on board and sponsored the event again. But the other companies that showed up to sponsor the event this year we were blown away by, like Mark said, Lippert, Battleborn Batteries, Giant Recreation World, a dealership in Florida, RV Life,
Mobile Must-Haves,
TST, so big companies, and companies that people know and trust, and companies we handpicked our sponsors as well as our speakers. I think that's one thing I want people to know is like, this has all been curated. I mean, this is not just, hey, anyone can come on and throw us money to be a sponsor. It's like, no, we have to believe in your company, your product, and we have to know that you are committed to delivering a great consumer experience. And all of those companies are, which is why it was so easy for us to work with them on this project.
Well, Battleborn, that's actually a really good example of a company that actually started out consumer focused, right? So they immediately worked with influencers and the folks that were kind of leading the conversation and developed products. So they didn't just say, hey, here's our batteries, go sell them. They said, hey, how do we make it better? And they've been improving their product to fit what the feedback is when people are saying, hey, here's what I like, and they're actually developing products to meet that need. And so that type of development cycle is super exciting to see in our industry. And on the campground side, as you noted, the campground owners are doing the same thing. They're adapting to it. The biggest complaint people have is that the prices are going up for camping, and that's because the amenities are getting better and the demand is there. So the prices are going up, but it doesn't mean you can't find.
It's basic economics, isn't it?
But at the same time, it doesn't mean you can't find great places to camp. For example, Joel with Harvest Host, he's basically created this whole, he bought an existing platform. Harvest Host existed before Joel, but then he took it and he turned it into something better and different. So you're seeing a lot of innovation in the space that's improving the way people camp and enjoy camping. So I think it's a really good time to be doing what we're doing, helping people find great campgrounds and in your case, camping better. But overall, it's exciting to see all that happen. And
it's a really exciting time. And I think with what's happened in the last year, the whole industry has been forced to change the way they deal with things, because there's also a new kind of consumer coming in now. We've talked about it before, the COVID campers, and people that are used to buying a cell phone or a piece of technology or a vehicle, then just everything just works. And to come in and find that RVing's not quite like that, but being able to share information to help them understand it. But I think the industry's making some great changes as well. They were expecting a big year last year, but not as big as it was. Nobody who predicted a pandemic, nobody, right? So I think the industry's done a really good job despite some real challenges, because anyone knows that it doesn't matter whether you're renovating your house or you're trying to, do a makeover, or you're building. It's hard getting anything shipped right now. Building costs are going up. It's hard. There's big delays in getting items shipped, especially if they're coming from overseas. So we're seeing that everywhere, and the industry's had to deal with that too. There's a lot of units sitting there on lots that can't go out because they haven't got all the parts for it to be a complete unit to go off. So I think they're doing a good job in handling some challenges.
Yeah, I was actually reading an article yesterday talking about shipping. So like a shipping company that handles shipping from Asia, and they expect this delay to last all the way through at least 2022. So it ain't going away anytime soon. And some anecdotes that we've been hearing of some RV shipping off the lot with apartment refrigerators rather than RV refrigerators, simply because they couldn't get the refrigerator and stuff like that. So they're adapting to get people out on the road. And there's been a lot of big news recently. And again, let's go back to the Hit the Road Summit. So you guys pulled this thing off. Absolutely amazing. Again, you can go experience it, see these great presentations, including mine. Mine was the best one by far. I mean, I highly recommend it. So if you're going to see any of them, anyways,
it's true though. It's true, because what you shared is very relevant and important to everyone. Because we're all RVing, we all need somewhere to go and stay in camp. And everything that you shared is just so relevant and was so interesting. And that is the first step. That's why we put your session first. It was just such a great way to kick it off. So
and the big thing, if you didn't see that, the big thing on it is that you're going to see a lot of news reports that everything's full. That's factually incorrect. There are tons of places to camp. You just have to look for it. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what it's about. But if you want to see any of these things, go to rvsuccessschool.com and you can sign up and nominal fee and get in there.
You can even just go to the hittheroadrvsummit.com website, and then that's got links now that will take you to where you can buy the pass to go and watch those. So that might be easier rather than confuse people with a whole lot of them. Either way, or just go to RV Love and you'll find a link there.
So this next question I have for you is always the fun one that I ask Mark and Julie, usually in private, because I never know where they're going next. So Julie, Mark, what's next?
Ooh, I don't know.
We are actually talking about bouncing out of here on Friday and heading to Utah, where there is no cell coverage, and just getting away for a couple of days and boondocking with some friends that have a Jeep with a rooftop tent. And so we hopefully get to bounce out for a few days and hang out with them. We'll see. It's still up there as a possibility.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to getting out and enjoying the RVing for the sake of RVing this summer, though. We've got to be bouncing around quite a bit out in the West and maybe.
We'll see. Well, we just did a couple of months over in the East where we relocated a motorhome for a friend. We flew into Texas, drove it to Florida, and then drove it all the way up through Georgia and Virginia and all the way up to Connecticut. And we flew back. We did 3,000 miles in 6 weeks, something like that. Filming sessions for the summer.
All while working 80-plus-hour work weeks.
That's right. We don't do things by halves.
Well, thank you. It's Mark and Julie from RV Love. Congratulations on the excellent event this last weekend. And I hope you're getting a lot of value out of these Campground Views podcasts. My name is Mark Kep. My goal is to bring you the people, places, destinations, and everything else that helps make camping amazing. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you. Thank you, Mark and Julie. Talk to you later.
Good to see you, Mark. Thank you. Bye.